Hello, I'm Henry Muñoz, chairman of Funny or Die Studios, and unfortunately, one of the few Latinas or Latinos who owns a major production studio in Hollywood. That's why I'm so proud to join the Latinx House at this year's Sundance Film Festival, because that needs to change. And even more proud to help introduce my dear friend, Eva Longoria, in what is her directorial debut. La Guerra Civil doesn't only tell the story of the iconic fight between Oscar de la Hoya and Julio César Chávez. It tells a very important story. It centers itself within the Mexican and Mexican-American culture, our identity. This film is part of Eva's continuing activism to bring our voices and our stories to the screen. Together, Eva and I have shared a vision that you can't really illuminate the American story for all people without first sharing our stories, Latinx stories, American stories. So I want to thank all of you for tuning into this panel, and thank you for supporting the important work of the Latinx House and their important mission to amplify the content that's created by us, by Latinx artists, entertainers, policy experts, thought leaders, and our grassroots organizers. I hope you enjoy this conversation between Olga, Oscar, and my sister, Eva Longoria Bastón, and I know that you are going to enjoy watching this very important film.
Hi, everybody. My name is Olga Segura, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to you guys and celebrate the world premiere of La Guerra Civil at Sundance Film Festival 2022. Woo! On this panel, we have the force of nature, Eva Longoria, who directed and produced the film. Yeah. And one of the subjects of the film, the legendary boxer, Oscar de la Hoya. Thank you both so much for being here. I'm so excited. I watched the movie. I loved it. Congratulations. What an accomplishment. I'm so excited that this movie is opening the festival. It's just so great. Let's start with how did this project came together? Eva, do you want to kick it off? Like, please.
I blame Oscar. It's all his doing. He really put this whole thing together. I mean, he has his hands in everything. And so he called me and he was like, hey, there's a 25th anniversary of this fight between me and Julio César Chávez, and we want to do a documentary about it. And I was like, I don't want to do a boxing doc, but I would love to, I remember that fight and I remember where I was. I remember what it did to my household, like much less the community. It wasn't until now that I realized what it did to our community, but like just in my house, the fighting about who you were going to root for. And like me and my primos, we were all like, Oscar, because we were Mexican American, and my dad and my grandpa were like, what are you talking about? It's Julio, get the hell out of here, and it was like, contentious, but like really contentious. And I was like, I remember that fight dividing our community in a way that I feel we still experience, right? And to explore what does it mean to be Mexican enough through the eyes of Oscar and the eyes of a Mexican national. We talk about this all the time, Olga, you're Mexican, even like in activism that we do, like, Olga's always like, don't forget to do this, don't forget to say this. And we're like, yeah, because it is two different cultures, but at the same time, we're the same people in our hearts. And so that's what, Oscar was the one that like looped me in. We've been friends for 25 years, and his life's story is fascinating, but this moment in time was pretty defining for him.
That's incredible, Oscar. Thank you so much for reaching out to Eva. Eva, you did an incredible job. Most people watching this film might know what happens in the end, like you just said, but you really keep the suspense up, and that's not easy to do. So Oscar, what was it like for you to see this iconic story told by Eva, your friend for 25 years, and told in this format? How are you feeling?
I mean, first of all, I was honored, talking to Eva, and just the fact that she got it, the fact that she understands the story. Yes, the fighter, Julio Cesar Chavez, the fighter Oscar de la Hoya, but do you know the story behind it? Do you know exactly what took place when that fight was happening? I mean, cultures were literally being divided. Whether you were Mexican American, whether you were Mexican, I mean, this story just captures the essence of what it's like to be a pocho, you know, and that's me. You know, I'm first generation. I speak Spanish, I speak English. My household is Mexican as can be, but I'm going to school. I learn English, I speak English, but I travel to Mexico and I'm just considered a gringo. I'm considered a pocho. Am I from here? Am I from there? So there's this sense of lost identity. Eva captured it perfectly. Like anybody who watches this film will say, oh my gosh, like I can identify. I lived this. I remember this movie. I remember this fight. I remember this whole history of what was taking place. So I mean, literally it was an honor. Now that I saw it I think I saw it like 10 times now. Every single time it keeps getting better and better and better. And the ending is just epic, where we just embrace and become friends. And Julio is like an amazing icon in Mexico or across the globe. And, you know, I did what I did in the Olympics, winning 10 world titles, all that stuff. But she brought us closer together, which was incredible, through not only an epic fight, but through this film. And I hope that people watching this can embrace more and really understand our culture, what we went through, what we're going through, and the battles we have to still face in the future.
One of the parts that I love is how you broke down and addressed the cultural differences between Mexican and Mexican American. Yeah. And boxing is such an important aspect in our culture. Was that something that you knew you wanted to explore and get across right from the start? Mm-hmm. And can you talk a little bit, both of you, like about that process?
Yeah, I mean, it was, when you do a documentary, you have to be super focused on what you're exploring, your themes and your thesis. What question are you asking? What are you answering? Because you can go off in so many directions, just Oscar's Olympic trajectory, like, from the Golden Gloves to the Goodwill Games to the Olympics. That's a move. That's a documentary, right? And then his career is a documentary, and then Julio and where he came from and how he grew up, and fighting in Tijuana to fighting 47 fights before he even had recognition, and I mean, you can really lose yourself in all the information and all the archival footage and all of the events that happen in these two huge legends' lives, right? And so I knew I had to do it from this lens. Mostly because as Oscar says, I knew this subject well because I experienced it, growing up as a Mexican American and straddling that hyphen of identity, walking through life, not half Mexican, half American, 100% Mexican, 100% American at the same time. And so it was just a subject I knew really well and something I wanted to explore. Being married to a Mexican, when I showed my husband the documentary, he's like Julio all the way because he's a Mexican national, and I'm like Oscar all the way. By the end of the film, he's like, oh my God, I love Oscar. I didn't know that he didn't know everything that Oscar went through to make it in his career. He didn't know that. And I didn't know all the stuff that Julio had went through, right? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that about Julio. And I love that this is not a boxing doc. It's really a documentary about humanity. And the documentary starts with their differences, starts with them being pitted against each other, the champion against the up and coming young guy, the old guy against the young guy, the American against the Mexican. And then by the end of the documentary, you realize how similar they are and how alike they are and how, they're really, now they're friends.
You nailed it. Like Oscar said it, you nailed it. It's just so powerful.
Well, it's not my story, it's Oscar's story. Like, he can talk to you about the pain of even speaking about this again because this was like very early in his career, you know, a baby. And so he had 20 more years after this. So, but this moment defined for him. And I'll let Oscar speak to that. But like the pain of experiencing that, of like, what the fuck? I'm Mexican. What are you talking about? Oh,
Sure, like,
I-
yeah,
I gotta-
exactly.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Oscar, that I cried when I saw you winning the gold medal
Right.
and raising both. Like I was literally crying.
Oh,
I was like, wow, this is powerful.
it is powerful.
It
Yeah.
was just so powerful. So let's talk about that. And that was, I didn't see it coming, and suddenly I'm like crying. It was, wow, it was
Yeah.
really powerful. So
So-
let's just talk about that.
Yeah, so it started, you know, I qualified after my mother had passed away. I wanted to quit boxing because what am I gonna box for? My mother's not here, and so I was gonna quit. And I had this like I don't know, an epiphany one day, and I just felt, look, let me go back to my drawing board. Let me pick myself up literally from the canvas and requalify for the Olympics. So once I went to the Olympics, I mean, you can imagine the uphill battle I was fighting, not only for my mother's memory, but also going into the Olympic Games as a U.S. Olympian, having Mexican roots, having Mexican parents, having this lost identity, like thinking, where am I from? Am I from there? Am I from here? So the way it all happened was, once I got to the final gold medal round, I finally won. One of my aunts, and I'll tell you the story, one of my aunts, she was sitting way above in the bleachers. She runs all the way down to the ringside, and she hands me over a Mexican flag, a little Mexican flag. And when you're an Olympic teammate or medalist, whatever, you always carry the U.S. flag, the country you're representing. The fact that she handed me over a Mexican flag, and so was just like, I mean, it was genius. It was brilliant. It was, I don't know if she meant it and didn't know what was going to happen after that, but the events that were going to take place, but it just was meant to be, because when I raised those flags, it just made everyone realize, oh my gosh, like he's one of us. Like, I don't know if I'm from here or from there. So it started that movement, you know? And so after that, I mean, everybody knows the story. The president of Mexico called me, oh my gosh, we want to invite you to Los Pinos, which is like the White House here in the US, because we feel so proud of you. And at that time, my Spanish was so broken. I spoke Spanish because my parents taught it to me at home, but it was still broken. So I was considered a pocho. Like, you know, I was considered this kid who just doesn't really speak Spanish, but loves his roots. And that's the story of many of us, of millions of us all here in the US. And so it broke a lot of barriers. It educated people in knowing that, hey, it's okay to be proud of your roots. It's okay to say that you're born here in the US, because I am a US citizen. And I love the fact that I can say that I won the gold medal for my country. But I'm also very proud that I have, you know, Mexican roots. So that there just opened the doors, you know, and it created this movement that is ongoing. We still have a ways to go. We're still struggling. We still have to fight. But I'm proud to say that we can that this film can open up everybody's eyes and realize, hey, look, it was a struggle back then. It is a struggle now. Let's keep fighting.
yeah. And that like the fact that he was a baby when he did that. He didn't know he was doing
17, yeah.
he didn't know he was doing a political statement. And the fact that it became a political statement and a almost like, you know, a defiant, like, I'm gonna honor my roots by holding up this Mexican flag. I mean, he did it for his family, to say, this is my family. And that was the genius beauty of it, is like, that's who he is. It's not it wasn't a marketing thing. It wasn't like, it was just who he was.
Yeah, it was beautiful. You guys made me cry with that moment. It was very powerful. And I think that a lot of youngsters and a lot of new generation that are gonna watch this movie because they know who you are. I mean, two legendary boxers and Eva. I'm really excited for what you guys are gonna create with this movie.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that because have you guys do you feel that have changed things with the next generation, like where we are right now?
Yeah, it's so funny because even having a documentary in Sundance about a couple Mexicans, like that's revolutionary, and we're opening the festival.
Yeah.
Like what? Like yes, that doesn't happen. And 2020 was the first time I had ever been to Sundance, and that was the first time Latinx House was there. And I said this was the first time I actually felt included or invited to be a part of a dialogue about us. And so to be here in 2022 with a film about, Mexican culture, like that's really big for our community. And so I hope everybody watches it and supports it, just for that fact. But, again, the exploration of this cultural divide is super important because it's super relevant today. This was a fight in the ring. We have a lot of fights in life, right? Like we need access to education, we need access to voting, we need access to healthcare. And if we don't start to realize as a Latino community, whether you're Puerto Rican or Cuban or Mexican American or Mexican, like as a community, if we don't come together and flex our power, we're not gonna win any of these fights, and we've got to come together. And at the end of the documentary, you just see how parallel Julio and Oscar's lives were as they grew up, as they came into fame, everything that happened in their lives and being champions, and what the cost of that was on their personal lives.
No, and that's just to follow up on that. It's mind-boggling, Eva, that you've been in the industry for so many years. You've been relevant. You've been an actor on TV and behind the scenes for all these years, and just to know that this was like I don't know the second time or first time that you've been to Sundance. It's like it's mind-boggling to me, But this is the struggle that we continue.
Yeah.
And this is a 12-round fight. This is not like a quick knockout that we want. No, this is like we want to fight till the end, and make sure we make our point across.
Yeah, 100%. But you're right. I mean, and if it's hard for me, imagine the Latina who's just starting in the industry, right? Imagine that young fighter who like doesn't know what to do or how to do it. Like there's just we've got to have representation so people can see us.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we created the Latinx House, because we didn't have a house
Yeah.
at Sundance. So now we do, and now we're opening with an amazing film. I'm so excited for you guys. I want to go to the next question. Eva, you mentioned, you have been fighting so much in every single project that you do to get not only representation in front of the camera, but behind the camera. So let's talk about your crew, your team for this movie, your directorial debut.
Yes, was so excited. Anytime I'm in a position of power to hire, I will hire the Latino. We work harder than anybody. That's why. But not only Latino, but like I was really conscious of hiring mostly Mexican and Mexican Americans for this project. I was lucky to have, a Latino DP, a Latino editor, a Latino composer. Our composer, Tony Morales, is from East LA. And he's brilliant and amazing. And our editor, our associate editors, all of our producers were Mexican, and we had Mexican American here in the United States, Mexicans in Mexico. Our camera operators our PAs, nearly our entire crew was Latino. And that was something I was really proud of and excited about. And especially, going into post-production when you're editing the movie and doing all of this other stuff, like it's not sexy and it's not exciting, but it's important because those are the jobs that also need to be filled. And so to have that post-production crew also be Latino was really important.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, I think that you walked the talk. Oscar, I think I forgot one question that I really want to do before we go. This fight was a famous fight worldwide. Was there something about the documentary that you think will help people understand the context around it all that they wouldn't have known otherwise?
I think what boxing does is first you think about the rivalry, right? You think about the fight. You think about, okay, who's gonna win? Who's gonna lose? Am I better? Am I worse? But when you start watching this documentary, and yes, I'm for Chavez, you're for Oscar, it tells the story brilliantly. But at the end of the film, it shows you that we're all the same. Basically, we're all the same. If we come together, if we embrace each other, through fight, through boxing, and that's the beauty of the sport. It's always been, boxing has always been a sport where, okay, it's the American against the Mexican, the Puerto Rican against the Mexican. No, but if at the end of the day, boxing unites, boxing brings cultures together, and this story was just told brilliantly, because at the end of the day, you'll watch that me and Chavez, we actually love each other, we actually care for each other, we have such a bond together through this film, through this fight, through the years, but also because, we got to know each other. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're from Mexico. Yes, I'm from East LA, but we're basically, our blood is red hot. Our blood is Mexican. Yes, I have. I was born here in the U.S. Yes, you were born in Mexico, but at the end of the day, we're all the same. We're all the same. We have the same. We have the same. I don't know. We eat the same food. We
both like tacos. You both like tacos.
Of course, yes.
Tacos and tequila.
I also want to add, Olga, the other thing that the documentary explores, which I feel like Oscar was the first athlete to do this, was to go into this crossover market.
Yeah.
Was American, but he was Mexican. Wait, he speaks English, but he speaks Spanish. Wait, he's good looking. We can get women. And so I think now when you look at J-Lo or Ricky Martin or anybody who has crossed over, right? Like Oscar was a pioneer in that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was important to have, that agent at that time talk about it. And that agent was like, are you kidding? I couldn't have had a better product. And when you think about our culture, Latinos are the fastest growing demographic in the United States. The general market is the Latino market. And to kind of be the pioneer at that moment, and Oscar, having to do a Gillette commercial in English and then having to do it in Spanish, like, I hope you were paid double, Oscar, because
I'm still getting royalties.
Exactly. But you know what, that
I get free shavers.
Yeah, that was a big deal. And then Oscar was one of the other athletes that brought women into the spectatorship of it, right?
Yeah.
And Julio jokes in the documentary, he's like, I've never seen so many women at any of my weigh-ins until he fought Oscar. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's I remember that craze. And Oscar has such an appreciation for all his fans, but like he understood the role he had to play during that time of like, all right, I get it, I'm that guy, but then he showed up in the ring. Like how many boxers just lived that life of understanding, I know I'm a product, I know I'm an entertainer, but in my heart I'm a boxer, right? And so like delivering in that way and servicing the market in a way, it's just genius. And that's why he's the entrepreneur he is today, is because of that insight that he had back then.
I remember, just to elaborate, I remember after the fight, Eva, I was, they called me over to do a front cover for the Time magazine, right? Time magazine. And so I was like, okay, well, what is it going to be about? What's the, you know, the topic? And so it was me, Shakira at the time when she was coming out, and it was a renowned scientist who was Mexican American.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
that fight kind of catapulted and kind of like, you know, opened the doors for us to be exposed in these types of like, you know, corporate America, you know, types of, you know,
Recognition, yeah.
sure. So you're right. I mean, that was a very important movement because of that fight. You know, it opened up a lot of doors, and you know, I feel very proud of that. But the beauty about this film that Eva captured was it's being explained in the movie. It's being explained in the documentary, where it's not only a fight that took place. It's a movement. It's a message to the next generation.
Yeah.
Like, this is what took place, but it's still taking place now. So this is a documentary that will, I believe, live on forever, and will tell the story, and hopefully we can have an answer on how to deal with these issues that we're still living with right at this time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you, Oscar, for taking the bravery, you know, to go and try to really get a filmmaker to tell this important moment. It's and sharing so much. Yeah. Because I agree with Eva. There's a lot of things that a lot of Mexicans don't know that are going to see in this film. So yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for continue empowering our culture and creating the movement, continue the movement. It's very powerful.
Wait, I forgot to show you. This is a picture of me and Oscar when we were 24 years old.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, and this is another thing that I love, that you chose Eva.
Yeah, but tell her the story of what took place.
What, of here?
The picture.
Oh yeah, we were in Big Bear. This was after the second Julio fight, and we were in Big Bear, and I lost a bet, and he made me get a tattoo. And that's a tattoo guy, motherfucker.
Yeah, but she was actually rooting for Chávez.
Yeah.
She lost.
No, you know what? I have never had a bigger champion than Oscar. Every step of my career, he's like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. Oh my God. So I think he chose me because he knew, of course, he's known my body of work. He's like, you know, Eva should do it, you know? And so it was really kind that I was honored to tell his story.
Yeah, I love that, because I mean, it's a boxing movie, so I feel that a lot of people will like think like, oh, it's just only for male, but no, a woman is directing, and it's a movie about humanity, you know.
I strongly feel that I mean, there's no better person to tell the story, but because from a woman's perspective, you know, because boxing, you think about you know, it's, oh my gosh, it's brutal, it's two men, this and that. No, but it's a human, you know, story that you're telling. You know, it's about cultures, it's about dividing, it's about uniting. And she captured it perfectly, because our households were all about, you know, the pay-per-views and the fights and Chávez and De La Hoya. And so the fact that Eva can capture all those moments, all those sentiments, all those emotions, where everybody can relate to, not only just men, but women and all walks of life, was just brilliantly told. So yeah, we're very proud that Eva accepted and she made this movie, and it was perfectly done.
Yes, perfectly done.
Sundance, and we're opening Sundance. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations again, both of you, for teaming up on this special movie, and I'm so excited for the world to see it, and what a best way to start with Sundance 2022. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And thank you to the Latinx House. You guys are just amazing in supporting all of the Latino filmmakers. And it's like for us to be on this week with you guys and being chosen to have this panel is we're so appreciative, because this is about us. This film is about us.
Definitely.
Yes.
Thank you guys. Please, I have a list here of all the screenings. You have so many screenings. So I am inviting everybody that is watching to go online to sundance.org, check out the screenings. There's so many opportunities. Once you buy the ticket, you have 24 hours to watch the movie. So please don't lose this opportunity. Of course, this movie is gonna be having a massive distribution. I can tell you right now that it's gonna be worldwide distributed. You guys are gonna be able to see it, but if you wanna see it right away, just please buy a ticket. And thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga.
Thank you.